Welcome to the Weekly Homicide Report, the weekly program where we talk about all the people that needlessly died at the hands of another person. So let's take a look at this week's graph. Chicago had 17 homicides last week. That's equal to the total of the previous 2 weeks combined. It appeared like things were slowing down, but that is not the case. Philadelphia had 5 murders, their lowest total in 5 weeks. They have 118 less murders than Chicago this year and are just over half the size of Chicago. All thanks to Let 'em Go Larry. Baltimore had 9 homicides. This is the most they've had in 1 week in 2.5 months, and have only had this many or more 8 weeks this year, with their highest weekly total being 12 in week 25. Milwaukee had just 1 homicide, a total they've had only 1 time this year. They did have 1 week with 0, though. Washington, D.C. had 5 homicides. This is about normal there. They're averaging about 4 a week. And the city that started it all, Minneapolis, Minnesota, had 1 murder. They sit at 71 for the year. And this is a graph of their shots fired reports throughout the city. Looks like if you're planning on a trip to Minneapolis, best to go on a Thursday. There were 14 mass shootings last week. These I covered all in a previous video. I'll put a link to that in the description. Philadelphia was the only usual suspect this week. And Chicago, if they can make it a few more days, will have gone an entire month without a mass shooting. Philly's mass shooting was the city's 22nd this year. 9 children under the age of 11 and 34 between the ages of 12 and 17 were shot and killed. This is the highest weekly total all year of children killed by gunfire under the age of 17. There were 14 reported defensive use of a firearm incidents. The average this year has been around 22 a week. And these are only the ones that are actually reported to the police. I'll get back to covering these again. I've just been kind of busy with work. This time of year it's really busy. But I find these stories very important and want as many people as possible to know about them. So I will be starting to cover them again really soon. I posted a video the other day that shows where we are at now compared to the 1990s. If you haven't seen that one, you may want to check it out. There's a lot of good data and statistics in there. On to the murder-suicides. Now, these are just the ones done with a gun, and so far in week 42, we're at 543 for the year, and that's an increase of 12 from last week. We are currently averaging about 1.8 per day, and the overall average was closer to only 1.5 per day in 2021. Well, that's all I have for you today, but I'll be back next week with the week 43 numbers. Until then, have a great week, and I'll catch you next week. Support this channel and pick yourself up some original crime-related apparel. Look for the link in the description.